TCI is brought to you by Escandarea Standing and Tailor-Made Stallions, the most dominant 3-year-old this decade. Watch for his first yearlings at upcoming sales.
Welcome back to TCI, your inside track to the Breeders' Cup alongside Joel Cunningham. I'm John Siegel. Joel, before we reveal the top 5 for the Ladies Classic, let's look back at last weekend. So many good horses in action, including Painter at Del Mar. You know, you were concerned about this race going in, and you were concerned about Kettle Corn.
Well, I was concerned about the poly track, really. I mean, Painter, look, John, that's just a fact. Not the cushion track, but the poly track. Dynamic dirt horses just aren't nearly as explosive when they move over to that legit poly track. I mean, we've seen it since the advent of the poly track. It's nothing new to us. So it didn't surprise me at all. He ground out a second-place performance in there. I mean, he looked like he was dead on the turn and still ground out a game runner-up performance just on class. But a horse that's in form that was getting little respect coming in was Kettle Corn.
Right.
You know, everybody remembers that, you know, he's, you know, sort of been just picking up checks in these greatest stakes in California, sort of weak division behind Game on Due. But when he added blinkers last time out, I mean, Game on Due walked on the lead in the Hollywood Gold Cup. Kettle Corn came after him and made it a race in the stretch. Even though Game on Due had a huge tactical advantage that day over him, the blinkers were the difference. It didn't surprise me at all. He was able to beat Painter, especially on the poly track.
Well, what I'm excited about now, it sounds like they will ship Painter to Saratoga. We may see him in the Woodward. That's an exciting thing for the East Coast people. They want to see Painter back out here
because if he would have won, you probably would have never seen him outside of California again. He would have run 3 more times there, then he'd been retired. So now we get to see him at historic Saratoga. So it is a win from that standpoint.
Well, at historic Saratoga, we saw our Belmont winner, and that was Palace Malice in the Jim Dandy. Joel, very impressive in here, geared down at the wire. But a horse I want to mention is Will Take Charge. This horse comes flying late. Now, I will say I thought Palace Malice was being geared down a little bit, but I thought it was a pretty impressive move.
Well, the thing that impressed me about Will Take Charge, getting the blinkers off him. Here's a colt that's shown the flashes of talent. I mean, big, good-looking son of a bridal son, well-bred. He is bred to be this type of horse, John, and I don't think he's quite ready for the Triple Crown, but it looks like he's putting it together now with the blinkers off. I mean, when you look at just the makeup of the Jim Dandy, Marino, the pace setter in there running third, speed held, and the fact that Palace Malice coming in the race doing very well didn't surprise me at all. He could be tactical and win that race. What did surprise me is the only closer made any impact at all was Will Take Charge. So you have to think going forward into the Travers, Will Take Charge, if he can replicate that performance, he's going to be a big-time player in the Travers. You know what? In Wayne Lucas's barn, everybody's talking about Oxbow.
Right.
But now I think going for the second half of the year, I think Will Take Charge is the bigger player in terms of the Lucas 3-year-olds going forward the second half of the year.
Well, Palace Malice was the leading 3-year-old in the country for about a day, and then we saw the Haskell, and we saw Verrazano. Joel, what he did to this field, I mean, do you think it puts him at the top of the 3-year-old division?
Well, John, we've always thought he was a huge talent. I mean, he's been, in terms of the talent category, he's as good as any 3-year-old and always has been at the top of that list. The concern was the classic distance. We saw him get beat in the Derby at 10 furlongs, but maybe that just wasn't his type of race. You know, the fact that there was such a fast pace in there, and he wants to sort of stalk a fast pace and finish to be at his best. But we saw now come back in the Haskell with a local prep there, you know, plenty of spacing on top form. He was able to track Oxbow. If we go now to the Twin Spires TV race replay, we'll show the explosion here. They turn for home, and you see Oxbow is already under the whip. Power Broker, a colt that I like, you know, in this race. He fires his race, poor guy, but look at this horse just explode. Puts 10 lengths on the field, John. A turn of foot. It's unbelievable. This horse up to a mile and 1/8 has this sort of potential. But I still wonder, you know, you look, 111 Brisk number. Dynamite race. It's going to make him odds on in the Travers. I still wonder about 10 furlongs, John. That classic distance can really separate these brilliant types. We've seen it with Quality Road. He got beat at 10 furlongs. We've seen it with a lot of horses over the years. Uncle Mo, another one, didn't really care for 10 furlongs in my opinion. I think this colt is brilliant. He's your favorite in the Travers, but can he get the distance? I still think he's vulnerable.
All right, enough talking about colts. Let's move now to fillies, and I want to reveal the top 5 for the Ladies Classic. Joel, we see Beholder in at number 5. We have her in at number 1 on the filly and mare sprint. You think they may go for the Classic, so you got her in here at number 5.
Well, that's the big race of the weekend, and certainly she loves Santa Anita, and just based on her quality, I think you have to have her in the top 5, John. She's your defending champion, won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile around 2 turns there last year at Santa Anita. Loves the track, ton of class. If they were not to respect her on the lead, they just let her gallop along in the front end, Watch out. This filly has the class to take them wire to wire, and that's the reason I think she belongs in the top 5. I do think she's better at a middle distance, though.
All right, well, the horse I want to talk about, I'm going to jump over Princess Silmar for a second. I'm going to talk about Include Me Out, because there is a win and you're in this weekend at Del Mar, the Clement Hirsch, and she's running in it. Joel, she looks like she's in form right now. You got her in at number 3.
You know, great comeback race in the Desert Storm around 1 turn. She's a filly that likes 2 turns. I mean, she was on the board last year at Santa Anita in the Ladies Classic. She was 3rd that day, so she's the best West Coast hopeful, in my opinion, for that Ladies Classic. Looks like her form this year is going to be good. But still, on the poly track at Del Mar, I do think she's vulnerable this weekend. She's not as explosive on that surface. And you look at a couple fillies that are grade 1 middle distance fillies out there that have some European turf pedigree, which is good on the poly track, by Rama and More Chocolate. Watch out. She could get upset this weekend, but it doesn't matter. Our list, the only thing that matters is how she'll be in the first weekend in November, going a mile and 8 on the dirt at Santa Anita, so she belongs in the top 3.
All right, Princess Silmar, just mentioned her. She's, I think, the top 3-year-old out there right now in this division. Joel, I think, you know, her record speaks for herself this year.
2-time Grade 1 winner, won the Kentucky Oaks comfortably over a good group, came back and impressively won the CCA Oaks, 2 Grade 1s at the distance. I mean, you got to have her in the top 5.
All right, at number 1, we saw Royal Delta. No secret there. She's the defending champ. She did great at Delaware. But I want to know about the number 2 filly there in Authenticity. Tell me about her.
Well, it's good to see Royal Delta, first of all, get that 111 breast. Show she's back in form, but she controlled that race, John. I still think this filly is very vulnerable this year compared to last year, but the fact she's a 2-time defending champ, you have to have her number 1, right? Authenticity is a filly that it wouldn't surprise me at all by the end of the year if she's the one wearing the purple and yellow flowers. I really feel that way about her. Her La Troyenne win, when she had to outgame On Fire Baby on that track down the stretch on La Troyenne, On Fire Baby just came back off a layoff and showed how good she was winning the Apple Blossom, a huge race. And then for her to come back and fight Joyful Victory, you know, in that Ogden Phipps over an insane pace, put her away, finish, and just get nipped by the closers in there. Tismisu, a legitimate Grade 1 filly. I think this filly, tactically and class perspective, I think she's really, really good, and that's why I have her in at number 2.
All right, well, we talked about Del Mar, and we talked about the fact that there's a win and you're in there, but we need to jump now to Saratoga and talk about the Whitney, because, Joel, we got a lot of good horses in here moving into the Classic division.
Absolutely. I mean, this is one of the races of the year for the older horse division. I mean, the Whitney, it doesn't get any better than that, John. You get a really top-heavy group in here. You get a couple horses that had great form last year that I really question about this year. Mucho Macho Man, Ron the Grieve, 2 horses that, you know, could be tailing off now at this point in their career. But the 2 heavy hitters, Fort Larned in here, your defending Breeders' Cup Classic and Whitney winner against Cross Traffic, a colt I'm very excited about. And what's interesting about this group, from the break of the gate, John, this is going to be a very tactical race between those 2 colts. Cross Traffic, Fort Larned, both high cruising speed horses. They don't want to rate, they want to go. They want to be most effective getting into that cruising speed. So something's got to give in here, right? I wouldn't be surprised to see a long shot outcome in here. A horse like maybe even like Fast Falcon, John, off the pace, like Saratoga, ran well last time out. He's 15-1 morning line. He's not within 10 lengths of Fort Larned in Cross Traffic in a normal race. But pace makes the race. I wouldn't be surprised to see a pace meltdown in here. Something's got to give. These are 2 high-quality colts, and they'll be slugging it out from the break.
All right, thank you, Joel. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you come back next week. We're going to recap these races, and we'll also reveal another top 5.
Play the $50,000 Summer Showdown at TwinSpires.com. Through September 1st, parlay winning $10 show bets into thousands. But only when you play at TwinSpires.com, where players win.